Hi students, welcome back to our second session of the reading of the history of Juneteenth, learning about this important holiday as Juneteenth approaches. All right, we left off in our last session, jumping in the think tank, thinking about why we thought the Confederacy did not obey the Emancipation Proclamation. And we're continuing in chapter 3. With the end of the war. The Emancipation Proclamation did not immediately end the war, but it made the Union Army bigger and more powerful. The Confederacy relied on enslaved workers to farm their land, so it lost money and resources. In April 1865, the largest unit of the Confederate Army surrendered to the Union Army in Virginia. Only a few days later, President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated while watching a play. Americans were shocked and sad. As the war was ending, many Northern politicians began to fight to add the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. The amendment would end slavery in America forever. Some politicians did not want the amendment to pass. Many people worked hard to make sure Congress approved it. On January 31st, 1865, Congress approved the 13th Amendment, and slavery was declared illegal. Over the next year, black people all over the country became free. In the months following the war, free black people worked to build new lives. They started paid jobs, reunited with lost family members, and continued to create successful communities. They began to start their own schools and learn. There were challenges ahead, but African Americans everywhere were excited about the future. When 1861, the Civil War starts, 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation is enacted. 1865, the largest unit of the Confederate Army surrenders. 1865, the 13th Amendment is approved. Chapter 4, General Order Number 3. June 19th, 1865. Almost 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, more than 250,000 black people were still enslaved. Even though the largest unit of the Confederate Army surrendered, some Confederate troops in places like Texas continued fighting the war. They believed they could still win. They refused to free African Americans and made it very difficult for them to get to the Union Army. African Americans knew they were free, but they had no one to enforce their freedom. Enslavers ignored the Emancipation Proclamation. They used violence to force some black people to stay. In 1865, Union officials knew they had to take control of the former Confederate states. They wanted to make sure Confederate soldiers stopped fighting. Union generals sent large groups of soldiers to all parts of the Confederacy to enforce freedom and peace. Union General Gordon Granger was called to travel to Texas. On June 19th, Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas with nearly 2,000 soldiers. Most of them were in the United States colored troops. Finally, the Union Army had arrived. General Granger read General Order Number 3. This order stated that enslaved people were free. More important, they now had Union soldiers to protect them and to make sure they would stay free. Who? The United States Colored Troops, or USCT, were groups of black soldiers who fought for the Union Army. By the end of the war, they made up 1/10 of all Union soldiers. The first moments of freedom. When they heard General Order Number 3, African Americans in Galveston celebrated. General Number Order 3 asked black people to stay in Texas and work for money. but many ignored these requests. They wanted to move and look for lost family members. Black Texans knew their new freedom had no boundaries. Some stayed in Texas, but others relocated to places like New Orleans, Louisiana. Some people moved further west. No matter where African Americans went, they faced hardship. Many people did not want Black people in their communities. Some Southerners did not want to accept the end of slavery. Former Confederate soldiers attacked free Black people. When African Americans asked for payment for their work, many white people refused to pay. Politicians knew about these problems. They created an organization to make sure African Americans were protected. It was called the Freedmen's Bureau. All right, let's take a minute to jump in the think tank. Get your pencil and paper ready. The questions you need to answer now are, how do you think enslaved African Americans felt when they heard they were free? And then your second question, how would you celebrate freedom? Go ahead and pause this. Take a moment to answer both of these questions. And when you're done, unpause and continue listening. After the Civil War, it became clear that ending slavery did not stop racism and hate. But free African Americans everywhere rallied together to build a new life. They created schools and new churches. They started successful businesses and farms. They voted in elections. In the years following the war, 16 Black members of Congress, including 2 Black senators, were elected. When? May 14th, 1865. The last battle of the Civil War ends. June 19th, 1865. General Granger reads General Order Number 3. Chapter 5. Jubilee Day. Early celebrations. African Americans decided to celebrate the day that General Granger arrived in Galveston and enforced General Order Number 3. On June 19, 1866, Black people in Galveston gathered to celebrate the first anniversary of their freedom. Okay, let's pause and jump back into the think tank. Have your paper and pencil out. The question you need to answer now is, why do you think emancipation celebrations were so important to African Americans? Pause this video, answer that question, and then unpause and we'll continue. At first, they called June 19th Jubilee Day. A jubilee is a special celebration for an anniversary. The early gatherings often included food and music. People cooked traditional foods like barbecue. They also ate summer dishes like watermelon. They made a special red drink by mixing strawberries and lemonade. The red color reminded them of the suffering they had faced during slavery. In some places, the celebrations included people reading the Emancipation Proclamation out loud. The gatherings were usually held in community spaces like parks and churches. There were parties and parades with singers, dancers, and decorated carriages. Many of the early celebrations also focused on civic engagement. Civic engagement is people getting together to support important causes. Black Texans wanted to celebrate freedom, but they knew freedom came with responsibilities. Even though Black people were free, they still faced racism. Black leaders held rallies and events on Jubilee Day to support equality for Black people, not just freedom. Making history. Over time, Black people started to call Jubilee Day Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a shortened version of June 19th. The celebrations continued to grow. Black community leaders often ran into problems when they tried to celebrate Juneteenth. Even after the 13th Amendment became part of the Constitution, some white Americans believed Black people were inferior. They thought Black Americans should have remained enslaved. Some white people did not want Black people to use public places for their celebrations. In 1872, 4 men from the Third Ward, a black neighborhood in Houston, Texas, had an idea. They pulled together money to buy a park to hold Juneteenth celebrations. They bought nearly 10 acres and opened the park every June to honor the end of slavery. They called it Emancipation Park. Who? John Henry, Jack Yates, was a freedman, reverend, and leader in Houston. He and 3 other men worked together to buy Emancipation Park. African Americans came together to celebrate emancipation in many ways. Emancipation celebrations happen throughout the country at different times. Remember that enslaved people were freed at different times throughout the Civil War. Some people celebrated on January 1st because that was when the Emancipation Proclamation went into effect. Black people went to church on December 31st and waited for the clock to strike midnight. They called these gatherings watch night services. African Americans in Richmond, Virginia, celebrated on April 3rd because that was when the Union Army entered Richmond. Go ahead and let's pause and look at this map for a minute. This is talking about the emancipation dates and the dates and where they were happening. So you can see here, we just read about Virginia on April 3rd. Then we see Washington, D.C. on April 16th, Florida on May 20th, and then we see Texas June 19th. So what we're noticing is that different people are celebrating at different times the end of slavery. Remembering emancipation allowed African Americans to come together to reflect on their past. It also allowed them to celebrate their hard-earned freedom and to celebrate new traditions. When? 1866, the first Jubilee celebration takes place. 1872, Black leaders purchase Emancipation Park. Chapter 6, Juneteenth over the years. New challenges. The 20th century brought new challenges for African Americans. Southern politicians created unfair rules called Jim Crow laws. These laws kept black and white people apart, which is known as segregation. Black people could not go to the same schools as white people. They were not allowed in many public spaces. The laws even made it hard for black people to vote. Black people lost many of the rights they had gained after the Civil War. Some white Southerners joined racist groups like the Ku Klux Klan, KKK. KKK members were violent toward black Southerners who refused to follow unfair rules. Confederate supporters built statues dedicated to Confederate generals. In many places, celebrating Juneteenth was dangerous. In 1936, nearly 200,000 people showed up to celebrate Juneteenth at the Texas State Fair in Dallas. In 1938, the government of Texas proclaimed June 19th the official Emancipation Day in Texas. This act did not stop the Jim Crow laws or the threats of violence. Jim Crow laws made holding Juneteenth celebrations difficult, but many black people continued to organize gatherings. Who? Herman Sweatt was not allowed to attend the University of Texas because he was black. He sued the school, and in 1950 he won his case. Because of Sweatt, public universities in Texas were desegregated. All right, we're going to end today's session right now. So go ahead and stop this video, and we will pick up in our next session right here where we left off.